Okay, it is my pleasure to introduce Brandon Huffman to kick us off for our presentation.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, before we get started, because my inner 20-year-old millennial is coming out tonight. If you're a millennial tonight, no offense, but I'm going to take a picture of everybody. And we're going to do like the biggest selfie ever. But I will not be in this picture because you all are here tonight. Why not brag about it? Why not brag about how your Friday night is so much better than everybody that's at a football game tonight or out to dinner? So, on 3, I'm going to take a picture of you all, and then I'm going to tag it, and I'm going to not tag all of you because that'll take too long. So on 3, everybody smile or say cheese. 1, 2. Actually, that didn't look good. Let's do it this way. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Ah, such a beautiful crowd tonight. So now's where we kind of take a little bit of an awkward transition to the more serious portion of the evening, but we'll get to the real serious stuff later. First of all, on behalf of Amanda, I'd like to welcome each of you guys here tonight, or thank you for coming to the inaugural kickoff event for the Avery Huffman Defeat DIPG Foundation. You're all charter members of our first event. I'd like to thank you guys for all being here tonight, so give yourself a round of applause. And as I'll talk about in just a few minutes, this is the first of what will be countless events over the rest of my life, at least, to really fight for a cure for DIPG. So thank you guys for being here tonight. And look forward to seeing you at several more events in the future. And now that we saw the response for tonight, next year we will get a place that has air conditioning. Before we get into the program part of the evening, I want to thank some of our sponsors this evening. Our silver sponsors, Matt Kofidetz and myself, they're not here tonight, but they were our silver sponsors this evening. Our bronze sponsors, New Ray Metal Products, Outpatient Physical Therapy, Edward Jones in Auburn, Greg Dobbs, thank you, and Pauline Lay and Kiet Lamb, also bronze sponsors. And then, of course, special thanks to Greg Brown for being our MC and our host this evening. Melissa Poznansky and the Avery Strong Auction and Gala team. Thank you. Snapshot Content Lab and their team. Give them applause. Come on. Cassandra Hamilton Photography. Everybody get their picture taken when you came in? Good. Give Cassandra an applause. Advanced sign and lighting for all of our banners. The meaningful details for accessory donations. Charlie's Produce for all the flowers. The Silver Cup Lake Taps and SoCal U AAA Baseball for the swag bag items, which you'll get on your way out. Starbucks and Hop Jacks in Lakeland for serving tonight. Diana Miller and Gina Greco for procuring all of the Dessert Dash donations. And then several of our guests that are here tonight who donated items, donated to the event so that tonight could be possible. The sweat, the hours, the time that people put in to make this night a success. Please give them some applause and thank you. Inside your folder, you all got a folder or an envelope when you guys came in. You'll see that there was a kind of a list of events that we've got coming up over the course of the next year or so. Some events are specifically foundation-related events that we're putting on. Other events are that local businesses are also putting on, or local people are putting on for us. I want to point them out to you because what better way to kick off our event than by telling you what other events we've got coming up. During the month of September, if you guys have never been to Hop Jacks, go. If you've been to Hop Jacks, go. The next 3 Tuesday nights at various Hop Jacks locations in the area, they will be offering Take Back Tuesdays at 3 different locations. Maple Valley will be this Tuesday, September 13th. Bonnie Lake on September 20th, and then in Lakeland Hills on September 27th. If you eat between the hours of 5 to 8 on those 3 nights, 20% of all of their sales those evenings go to the foundation. So there you got dinners taken care of on Tuesdays for the next 3 weeks. Next weekend, my oldest daughter, Alexandra, and I will be heading to Washington, D.C. for Cure Fest for childhood cancer in Washington, D.C., and an opportunity to link up with our network partners, our Defeat DIPG Foundation partners, and also to tell Avery's story back east. So we'll be heading out there the following week. Hello Cupcake in Tacoma. We'll be having Salted Caramel Cupcake Week. If you go in and you buy a salted caramel, and who doesn't love salted caramel once September 1st comes around? Every cupcake they sell, $1 for that cupcake goes to the foundation as well. If you are not like me and you like to run, the Seattle Marathon is coming up in November. If any of you have ever run the Seattle Marathon, God bless you, that's incredible. I will not be driving 26 miles, let alone running 26 miles. However, there's going to be a Team Avery Strong team doing the half marathon. Some of you will run. Those of you that are crazy will run. Those of you that are smart like me will walk it. Half marathon on November 27th in Seattle. There's a sign-up sheet on your way out. If you're interested, one of the Lakeland Hills families is putting a team together where they're coming up with a plan for training for that. But there will also be opportunities to get some exclusive Team Avery Strong at the Seattle Marathon gear. If you decide to run or walk it, great way to get rid of all those Thanksgiving calories that you've added. But put that date in. And then if you like to do much less running, in fact, fun run, oxymoron, but Southern California, April 8th, 2017 at Azusa Pacific University, we'll actually be having their second Avery Strong Fun Run. We did one last October, so we'll be returning. So if you're in Southern California for spring break, great opportunity for you as well. In May, Broadway for Bravery. McKenna Webb, many of you guys know McKenna. Yes. McKenna, a few months ago, approached us about doing an event called Broadway for Bravery, where there's various Broadway shows being represented at a show at Auburn Riverside Theater. The date for that will be May 13th, 2017. Great event. Put that on your calendar now that you've got it. May 17th, DIPG Awareness Day. We're making a push, and you'll hear about that in just a minute from one of our speakers about DIPG Awareness Day. It's something that we're trying to push nationally, but we're also trying to push it, especially in the state of Washington, as it relates to us. May 17th is that. And then lastly, at a to-be-determined date in the spring of 2017, there will be an event at Half Lion, who was incredible if you guys were at the event back in early February. Awesome venue, awesome place, great beer, great place to be. We'll be back there in the spring. We'll be back there before that, but officially at an event in the spring. All right. So these are just a few of the events that we've got on the agenda in the coming months, and we're excited to continue to share Avery's story. And I'll get into sharing more about Avery in just a little bit, but speaking of stories, not long after Avery was diagnosed, in fact, it was probably within a week after Avery's diagnosis, our family connected with Mark and Jenny Mosier, and they live in Maryland, and in May of 2015, they lost their son Michael to DIPG as well. And as our heads were spinning, as we were reeling over the diagnosis of Avery, it was so many families that reached out to us during that time that had been through that same battle that really affected us and really touched our lives and just helped us walk through such a horrible time. And the Mosiers reached out just within weeks, really, of losing their son, and we had a chance to get to know them. They came out in February for Avery's Celebration of Life service. And the day of Avery's service, they came to our house and talked with us. And we had already been thinking about doing some kind of foundation that would honor Avery, but that would also fight DIPG. They had already established the Michael Mosier Defeat DIPG Foundation. And so when you see the name Avery Huffman Defeat DIPG Foundation, that came with our partnership with the Michael Mosier Foundation back in Maryland. And we're kind of their West Coast Washington chapter. So Jenny and Mark came out this week to be a part of this event and to support what we're doing out here. So we've asked Jenny to come and share some words about why the foundation as a whole exists. Why are we determined to fight? And what are some of the things that we'll be doing to fight DIPG so that there is a cure one day? So I've asked Jenny to come and share a few words, and There she is. Jenny Mosier, come to share.
I think it'll work. Can you hear me? It's a little high. I'm a little vertically challenged, as you see. All right. It'll work. Hello. Thank you, Brandon. I'm Jenny Mosier, and I'm here with my husband, Mark, and we are so glad to be here today. The first time that I heard the words DIPG were in September of 2014, when my 6-year-old son, Michael, was diagnosed with that type of tumor. Michael fought for 8.5 months, and he woke up every day with such bravery and courage, and we were so impressed. He fought harder than we thought we could do in the same circumstance, as we see with so many of these children who really amaze us with their impressive courage. Michael became known because each morning when he woke up, he would sit with his dad and he would create a checklist of things that he wanted to do in the day. He may list things like drink a milkshake, do Legos, take a bath, go to school. Whatever it was, he would not end his day until every item on that list was checked off. Michael passed away in May of 2015, and a little more than a month later, we learned of a little girl across the country named Avery Huffman. Avery captured our hearts with her spirit and her smile and her persistence, characteristics that we thought showed a lot of similarities with our own son. And then one day, either Brandon or Amanda, I'm not sure who, posted on their Caring Bridge site a story about Avery and how she was writing checklists of all the things that she wanted to do. And the connection between our families, which had started earlier, and to me just sort of, it was like this sign that we were meant to be working together and meant to be on this shared mission that we are on right now. We had created Michael Mosier Defeat DIPG Foundation in June of 2015, and we were so honored when Amanda and Brandon decided to join us in what we now call our Defeat DIPG network. And we also have partners in Texas, the Olympia family who lost their son, Connor. DIPG impacts 300 to 400 kids every single year in the U.S. alone. And in the scheme of things, this is still rare, as is every pediatric cancer. But when you look around this room and you know that there are multiple families here who have had kids in this fight, and I hope many of you were able to see the Wall of Bravery, which is outside, and if you didn't see it, you should check it out before you leave. As you put the faces of these children on this disease, the fact that it is rare seems to fade in importance, because each of these kids is everything to their family. And the impact that this disease has on these families, the fact that it is small numerically really doesn't matter. Now, there are kids who defy the odds, and we love watching Cameron Kozai every day, who's doing very well. And we saw, and I hope many of you I know are supportive of the Kozai family. And he's been going to school this week, and he is just such a trooper, and we root him on every single day. But the general statistics with DIPG are staggering. 9 months is the median survival from diagnosis. 90% of kids will pass away within 2 years, and overall survival is near 0%. This means that hundreds of children die every single year in the U.S. alone. It's the deadliest pediatric brain cancer, and it's a leading cause of death for kids under 10. Take that and match it with the funding that goes to this disease. $10 billion is spent annually on cancer research in this country. DIPG research is funded almost entirely by families like the Huffmans, like so many other families in this room who are fighting for this disease, and like ours, who have lost kids and now have dedicated themselves to making a difference. And what it ends up is being annually is only about $3 to $5 million per year, which is less than 0.0005% of the total funding for cancer research. That's 5/10,000ths of a percent. If you wonder whether your dollars matter, they matter. Every single dollar matters. Now remember, if you go back a few decades, many pediatric cancers had a low survival rate. And now the overall 5-year survival rate is about 83% on pediatric cancer. A cancer like leukemia, for instance, has quadrupled the 5-year survival rate if you look at the 1960s compared with today. If you want to know the change in DIPG, well, the statistics I just said, I guess, preview it. There has been no change. There has been no progress. It is time to move the needle on DIPG, and we need every person possible to do this. We work every day to raise money for research, and just this week, on Monday, we were so excited to announce our first grant of 2016, which was a $100,000 grant to the DIPG Collaborative to fund research. Thank you. We are proud to be foundational partners in the collaborative, where we work alongside other foundations to jointly fund the fight for a cure. And make no mistake that these research initiatives make a difference. Some people may have seen news reports shared last week about a promising new drug that's being tested through a clinical trial in Cincinnati. It's still in the early stages, so it's too soon to say whether this is going to be the answer for some of these kids, but it is showing some positive results with some of the DIPG patients. And this is a project that we helped to fund in 2015. Just last night, I spoke with a DIPG mom who had received the very difficult news that her child did not have much time left to fight. She's preparing that her child may not be there anymore in a few weeks, or maybe at best in a few months. I can tell you that there is nothing in the world that can prepare you for that. I can also tell you that for parents like this mom, parents who are fighting now, and the parents that are going to learn tomorrow that their kid has DIPG, we have to act with more urgency. We need to find effective treatments, and we need more resources so that the options that are out there are available here in the U.S. Many children who are facing DIPG have been traveling abroad in the past year because they see options that are available for therapies in other countries that we don't have here. And the Kozais, I know, are one example of a family in this situation. We should be outraged at the idea that on top of this devastating disease that a family has to confront, they also have no choice but to raise the funds to fly to another country to find a treatment for their child. We are committed to working with the doctors and researchers here to make sure that promising new treatments are available here in the U.S. We are committed to exploring each of the new developments and channeling our funds in a way that will make the biggest impact. What may be surprising is that much of what we know about DIPG has only been learned in the past 5 years. And when you think about that, other cancers have been heavily funded and researched for decades. But now we're just still learning the building blocks about DIPG. Now, we can be frustrated that this didn't happen sooner, and I can tell you, standing here, as we live with the hole in our hearts and missing our son every single day, that it makes me angry that things didn't happen sooner. But I also have hope from this fact, because we are coming to this cause and to this mission at the right time, at a time when it is poised for progress and we really can make a difference. I have looked into the eyes of multiple doctors across the country, and whenever I meet with people, I ask them the same thing. I tell them, what I tell people is now is the time, and if they invest in DIPG, we are really going to change things, and we're going to have hope for our kids. Am I telling them something that's true? Do you believe this? And to a person, Doctors who've been working in this field for decades and have dedicated their careers to pediatric brain cancer have said that for the first time ever, they are optimistic that they are going to find treatments and they are going to find cures for these kids. The change that's happened and the developments and the optimism isn't by accident. First of all, we've seen the changes due to the generosity of many families who have opted to donate their child's tumor after their child has passed away. Second of all, we've seen technological advances where genetic sequencing is now possible in a way that is more cost-effective and fast and can get information to doctors in a way that they can really move the ball with this disease. And third of all, there is a movement. There is a movement of families like the Huffmans and like so many others in this room and the friends and supporters of these families that are unrelenting in this fight, that are determined to raise more resources, to raise awareness, and to save other families from the devastation that this disease can inflict. On the awareness front, as Brandon mentioned, we hope that one such measure will be adopted here in Washington State. And I know the Huffmans are going to be advocating, and I hope, along with the support of everyone in this room, for Washington to create its first ever DIPG Awareness Day on May 17th of 2017. In this past year, May 17th was recognized as an awareness day in Maryland and in Pennsylvania, and we've now joined forces with families all across the whole nation to try to bring the power of our joint efforts together and really raise the profile of the need on this cancer. Now, let me just wrap up by telling you, from an outsider's perspective, this is a community that is just so special, with amazing compassion and a drive to get things done. As we push forward with this movement and we keep working to defeat DIPG, we need you all with us. We cannot do this alone. So I want to say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing us to come and be a part of this amazing event and for welcoming us into this special group. And thank you to Brandon and Amanda for being our partners as we work together to honor our kids' legacies by making sure that future families who learn that their child has DIPG can still have hope for a bright future for their child. Thank you.
Avery was hilarious, first of all. She was this little spunky thing, darling and just full of energy.
Sassy. She was fashionista.
Just a silly, rambunctious fashionista. She had just tons of personality.
She always had matching earrings, headbands, accessories.
She liked costumes of all kinds, pink sparkles, headbands, tights and leggings, leopard print.
She's funny.
She's very funny.
Yeah.
Every picture, she would have her hands on her hip and her head tilted like this. She kind of liked to be the ham.
She'd kiss her muscles, she'd do thumbs up, she'd do silly smiles. That was just Avery's little spunk. That was her showing she knew she was strong.
Toughest kid I've ever been around. Toughest person I've ever been around. She was just an absolute fierce, brave, strong, courageous warrior.
She came in and her body was failing her even when we started school, but she wanted to do everything we did. And she tried and was very determined.
She was funny, energetic, stubborn, but she was also the friendliest to others, probably our sweetest of our 4 kids. She was a very genuinely loving, compassionate person.
She just had like this sweet, sensitive heart and spirit. She was more concerned with other people than she was about herself.
About 3 days before her diagnosis, I got a text from Amanda saying that, hey, I think Avery's got developing a cross-eye.
We were looking at rocks and she said she saw two of me. So I was thinking she crossed her eyes or something. And she wasn't. So I thought it was a little weird.
That was really our first initial sign that something was going on, and so we pushed to get her in to see a pediatric ophthalmologist. And those appointments usually are like 6 weeks out, but I just had this mothering instinct that something wasn't quite accurate, and I wanted to get her in sooner.
Mama Bear said, I'm not waiting 2 weeks. The next day, she pushed to get her in for an MRI. We went in for the MRI. They told us it'd be another 2 weeks till we got the results. Again, I'm sitting in the MRI room with Avery. Man is on the phone getting the MRI read that day. That's when they gave us the news.
Avery's in the room, and they're sitting you down to tell you what this is. It was horrible.
So it's a tumor. Okay, so it's cancerous. All right, when is surgery? And then that's when we were given probably the worst news of all, that there is no surgery. In fact, there's nothing that can be done for this particular tumor. There was a little bit of silence, and then eventually I said, how long are we looking? We were given a very short window at that point, and that's when it really finally hit, like, this is serious, this is real.
I just remember almost collapsing, screaming.
My legs weakened, my heart started pounding, I started sweating, my mouth went dry. I had to sit down, ended up laying on the floor.
My parents came back from the hospital and they told us that
we didn't have much time.
They couldn't do anything about it and that she wasn't going to make it.
Officially, it's known as diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, which is a inoperable brain tumor. It's on the pons that essentially controls the nervous system in the body. It is probably the worst of the worst when it comes to anything, really, when it comes to cancer.
When they first said DIPG, we didn't know what that was. Never heard of that. And now I know more about DIPG than I ever wanted to.
Typically diagnosed on children between the ages of 5 and 9, and there's about 200 cases nationally, roughly 300 internationally a year, and the survival rate doesn't exist.
It was hard emotionally. I definitely pushed it to the back of my mind a lot and just felt Avery's here now and we're going to do everything we can for her now.
Oh, that was heart-wrenching to hear the news that your daughter's best friend was sick and to know that your friends were going to potentially lose their daughter.
I just went through an array of emotions, shock, disbelief, anger. Like I said, it's bad for anybody, but she's this sweet, kind little girl with the best heart, and it was just gut-wrenching.
Avery required a lot of care and physical care and emotional care, and so I think it was really hard to just meet everyone's needs.
We felt like they cared way less about us because we were always just going to someone else's house, and I never got to see what she was actually doing because I didn't know what radiation was at the time.
So that was really hard, I think, on the kids to really understand, and then there was a lot of worry and fear about what was coming.
How are you going to explain that to your own children? You don't want to put the fear in them because there's always hope, and there's always a possibility that maybe Avery would have been the one to survive.
I remember just standing in our hallway with Brandon, and Avery came up and she was more concerned about how we were feeling and than worried about herself.
A courageous girl battling a severe type of cancer.
A 6-year-old girl from Auburn is in the fight of her life.
You've been a big supporter of Avery Huffman battling DIPG, our colleague Brandon Huffman's daughter.
You've seen that his daughter was diagnosed with a non-curable brain tumor last summer, and she's still in the fight for her life.
The way our community responded in those first real 72 hours especially, but since that point, was just incredible. People that we didn't even really know at first took it up as a cause to say, we got to help this family.
This was my NFC Championship game jersey from this year.
So what we're going to do is we're going to auction this off right now.
We just have a great circle of support and community.
Our community is so giving. People are coming out of the woodwork, to do what they could do.
Players that were announcing their college decision on national television were getting embroidered hats that said Bravery on it. They were wearing gear that said Avery Strong.
When I would be at Safeway and Federal Way and I would see somebody in an Avery Strong t-shirt, or as people would stop you, it was just gave you goosebumps.
Just overwhelming from the football community.
The Doug Baldwin thing was really cool because we've never really met a Seahawk player.
So we knew we were having a Seahawk assembly of some sort. So we're all decked out in our Hawk gear.
We saw the Seahawk, then Doug Baldwin was in there.
So Doug walked over to her and they traded bracelets.
And then the whole gym erupted into cheering for Avery.
It takes your breath away. That these young beings, are so compassionate for each other.
The biggest takeaway from everything was really just how blown away we were with how many people, friends and strangers alike, that really just wanted to love us through the greatest tragedy we could ever be facing.
At that point, a 6-year-old who'd only been in the elementary school for a year, to rally a community together that quickly, it was incredible.
What drives us and what pushes us and what's made us really want to, the force behind this foundation is Avery.
Really the big thing is spreading the awareness of the severe lack of funding for pediatric cancers in general.
A lot of people don't realize that there's a disease that your child could get, but there's nothing they could do.
Because when you're given a diagnosis of DIPG and then you're given the prognosis that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, it tells you where it falls in the priority pool.
We're honored to turn our grief to something positive so that other families don't have to feel this.
They will hear, thanks to the advancements in medicine and the funding and the awareness of this disease, we finally have found something can be done. The only way they're going to get to that point of hearing we can do something is for families and foundations like ours to make it our mission, to make it our cause, to champion the importance of raising money and raising awareness to find that cure.
We are Avery Strong.
That was a pretty incredible video that Rob Poznansky and his team at Snapshot put together. So, huge applause there. It's a Friday night, obviously you guys know that, and for many of you that know me, in my line of work, Friday nights are a busy night. Usually at a high school football game. Summer around the West Coast, high school football season's in full gear. In the fall, people are back at school, getting back on with their lives. And yet, here we are on a Friday night in September, 250 people in a sold-out crowd here this evening. It's incredible to me that here we are nearly 7 months since Avery took her last breath here on earth, and people are still impacted by Avery. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I lived with her, helped raise her, saw what an incredible kid she was. But to see the impact and the wide-ranging impact that she has in this community and beyond just continues to amaze me. The courage, the bravery that she showed during her fight against the IPG was remarkable. And I think you all would agree because you all watched it. Before I really get into sharing what I want to, though, I want to take a moment to acknowledge some people here tonight that know all too well what Amanda and I, what Alex, Cade, and Addison had to go through as a family. When you guys came in tonight, when you were walking through the auction area, hopefully you guys got a chance to see the Wall of Bravery. And on that wall, you saw some pictures that mentioned and honored some other brave warriors. During Avery's fight, I wrote a couple times about how Amanda and I hit the jackpot, the lottery, of entering the worst fraternity you could possibly imagine. Those of DIPG parents. I mean, DIPG is the one that even the people that are in a bad way, the people that are dealing with the worst, look at you like, oh, DIPG, yeah, that one. Jackpot. We hit that. And along the way, we met some families that unfortunately walked it as well. So when you saw on the Wall of Bravery, you saw 8 warriors on there that all fought or are fighting DIPG. And 6 of those families are here tonight, aside from Amanda and I. And I wanted to acknowledge them and thank them for coming tonight. On the Wall of Bravery, you heard Jenny mention the Olympia family. Their son Connor passed away last year. They live in Houston. They couldn't be with us here tonight, but we honor Connor tonight, and they're part of the foundation, Connor Man Defeat DIPG Foundation. Obviously, you heard Jenny talk about Michael, and Mark and Jenny came out from Maryland this week to be a part of this. You would have seen Victor. His mother, Julie, and father, Josh, are here this evening. There was Kaylee, and her parents, Russ and Christy, are here tonight. Mara was on this wall, and her parents, Brian and Heather, are here this evening. And there was Peyton, too, and her parents, Chad and Elizabeth, are here tonight. And I want to especially acknowledge Chad tonight because probably within a week of Avery's diagnosis, he reached out to me, and there were many nights during Avery's fight where he and I got together, or we talked over text, over drinks, times that these 2 big guys were sitting in the bar at Hopjack's crying, probably drawing quite a few of the eyeballs to us. But 2 big guys in there crying because of the love we have for our daughters and their bravery and how incredible they are. And I'm sure it was quite a sight, but it came from love. So, Chad, thank you for being there, especially for me during that. Each of these 6 families here tonight lost their child to DIPG. And lastly, you saw Cameron on that wall. And as many of you are familiar, Cameron Kozak continues to put up a hell of a fight. And Paul and Cindy, I want you guys to know, you got 220 other people here tonight that have you guys back that are pulling like crazy for Cameron to beat this. And I think that's what's also incredible, that here are 220 people on a Friday night ready for a fight. Now, I don't necessarily mean a real true fight, although based on some of the bidding tonight, there might be some fights on the drive home. But it wasn't just a social event that you guys were here for tonight. You came to join us for a fight. I think back to, I'm a big movie fan, and I think back to one of the great cinematic pictures of our time. As a person of the media, I think about this movie and the cinematic impact in the media industry that it had. And my career in the media, featuring the great, renowned broadcast journalist Ron Burgundy in Anchorman. And now as I try to make this somewhat relevant, if you guys remember in Anchorman and then in Anchorman 2, there was the riot scene where all the various news stations all got together for a fight. And if you remember in this fight, there was a Triton, there was a grenade, there was a brawl, a flat-out knockout brawl. But it was an all-hands-on-deck fight. And I look out tonight and I see people that come from different walks of life, different news stations, so to speak. But you all are here for a fight. And it's not just a fight that's for laughs. It's not a fight that's for entertainment. It's not a fight for ratings in a movie. This is a much greater fight. It's a fight for our kids' lives and their kids' lives and the next generation and the generation after that and so on. That's what we're here to fight. And I think back to that fateful day on June 30th, 2015, when Avery's oncologist said, and I quote, "DIPG is a cancerous tumor in her brain. Unfortunately, where it is located, surgery is not an option, and it's not removable." And then she wrapped it up with the other words, "There is no cure. There is nothing that can be done." Imagine getting that news. Again, jackpot. We got that news. And in that blur, in that time of great tragedy, I still look back on that time and go, is this really happening? I'm a firstborn. Amanda's the youngest. You put a firstborn and a youngest together, and I guarantee you, we're going to get our way at some point. We may not have got it. We may not have had the time in Avery's fight, but we haven't quit fighting. People ask us all the time, how do you do it? How do you get through each day? And I just say, well, I had a pretty amazing inspiration that gets me through each day. As many of you guys followed the fight, you saw how instantly DIPG wreaked havoc on Avery's body. Within a week, she was in a wheelchair. Within just a few days, her balance was off. She was walking with an incredible limp, lost the ability to use her right side of her body, her right arm, her hand, her leg, a patch over her left eye. And it quickly hit. And yet, over the course of that time, there was rarely ever any kind of complaint from Avery. It was right around Thanksgiving where it was becoming clear to us that it was becoming more and more difficult for her to really do the things that she had been able to do in the previous months. And it became very clear to Amanda and I that physically she was declining. And yet there she was in December. I remember getting a picture from Avery's teacher, Melissa Surgis. Picture of her on the floor in the Lakeland Hills gym playing hockey. Or the video that Melissa sent us of Avery leading her class to walk to read. You know what it wasn't called? It wasn't called roll in your wheelchair to read. It was called walk to read. So how was Avery going to get there? By getting in her gate walker with her class behind her, walking to read, because that's what it was called. Here she was, her body was declining, failing her, completely letting her down. But it didn't stop her. So how could I look at myself in the mirror and complain about how tough it was for me when I wasn't even the one that was going through the physical symptoms? And about December, as we got closer and closer to Avery's full decline, there would be mornings where Amanda would go downstairs with Addison, and I'd be asleep, or I'd lay in our bed as Avery was asleep in her bed in our room next to us. And all these thoughts are going through my head of, how? How did we get to this point? What happened? And Avery would wake up. As I'd wait to take her downstairs, to carry her downstairs, she'd wake up. "Dad?" "Yeah, Avery." "What are we going to do today?" I'm like, "Well, what do you want to do?" "Well," and then about 15 different things would come out of her mouth that she wanted to do. And I said, "You know what, let's go have a chat with Mom, and why don't you two make that list?" And every morning, Amanda and Avery would make that list, and every night, that list was completed. Because Avery wasn't going to sit and sulk, so why should I? Why could I? Why would I? As she fought cancer, as she fought DIPG, instead of waving the white flag and giving up, she fought it head on until her little body couldn't fight it anymore. But it was with a determination that while her body was telling her, "No, you can't do that," Avery was determined to say, "Yes, I can." And while doctors told us, "No, you can't do this, we can't do that," why should I listen to them when I'm looking at this little girl saying, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish that. So we're going to fight like Avery. Don't tell me no. Again, I'm a firstborn. Don't tell me no. I'm going to fight it. I'm going to come up with a reason why you can tell me no and make it valid. I look at those lists that Avery had put together each day and what she accomplished. She had lists, she had plans, she was going to complete it. Until on my last day here on this earth, I will do everything I can to fight like she did so I can complete that list. Trust me, we will show them. You have my word. We are going to put up a fight. Because Avery fought like hell, why wouldn't I? So that brings us back to why we are here. Sure, we're here for the auction and the bidding and the social aspect and the dessert and the dinner. And it's the time to hang out with people. But you all are here because you guys, again, are here for the fight. Because we all believe that someday we can hear there is something that can be done. You wouldn't have come here tonight if you didn't think that this was a cause worth getting behind. That tells me you guys are all committed to this fight too. Or you would have spent tonight somewhere else. And it's not just going to be done by our foundation. It's not just going to be done by the Michael Mosier Foundation or the Connerman Foundation or other foundations. It's going to take every single person in here and beyond for that all hands on deck, flat out, knockout, drag out brawl. Because that's the only way we're going to be able to have doctors someday say, something can be done. Write it down, take a picture, put the notes in your phone right now. Something will be done. Paul and Cindy, we're hoping like heck that that's sooner rather than later with Cameron. And you're seeing it happen each day with the fight that he's putting up. And we're all determined to fight as well. My all-time favorite singer is Frank Sinatra. If you were paying attention, you heard Frank Sinatra on the playlist tonight. And one of his great phrases was, the best revenge is massive success. And I think about our fight against DIPG. We will get revenge. And our great success will be when doctors tell a parent, if God forbid another parent ever has to hear what we had to hear, those doctors will instead say, sorry, nothing that can be done. It will change to the tune of something can be done. So as I wrap up, I want to thank you again for all being here tonight. Each of you contributing to our fight, a fight that, again, you have my word. I will continue till the very end because we will exact our revenge with great success, with massive success. Please join us. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere in this fight. That's why you're here. You look at yourself, you may think, oh, I'm not a real violent person. I'm not a person that gets after it and gets that animated. Hey, again, you're here. You're ready to fight. Suit up. I've written about it before, but the greatest sports movie, this time I'm serious, the greatest sports movie of all time is Rocky IV, peerless movie. And if you saw Rocky IV, you'll remember in that movie, it was not long after Ivan Drago killed Apollo Creed that Rocky stood in his family room and his wife Adrian told him, Rocky, you can't win. And yet there was Rocky in Moscow on Christmas night making Drago bleed, standing over him, making an entire country turn against Drago, cheering him on, and at the end of the day, besides ending the Cold War, Rocky beat Drago. And we're like Rocky. Doctors may have told us essentially, you can't win. But like Rocky stood over Drago with that victory, you have my word. The Avery Huffman Defeat DIPG Foundation, the Defeat DIPG Network, this community, we're going to be the ones with the whole crowd cheering us on, standing in celebration, because we just knocked out DIPG. Stay with us. Commit to us in this fight. Avery strong.
So as I listened to Jenny and Brandon talk, one word that I heard them both say is how rare this disease is. And what I thought as they both said that is that to the 250 people in this room, it's not rare. It's not rare to us. DIPG has touched every person in this room, none more than the 8 on the bravery wall out there. But it's touched every person in this room, and that's why we're here. And so as I think about why we're here, I think about Avery Strong. And I love that I can't look at Facebook without seeing Avery Strong. I can't walk to the store without seeing Avery Strong. And this room is full of people who are Avery Strong and who are joining the fight, who are wanting to make an impact to find a cure. None of us in this room is going to cure DIPG tonight, but everyone in this room is going to make a difference with DIPG tonight. So here's my challenge to you. My challenge to you is that in the state that the wave, you know the wave of the Seahawks games? In the state that invented the wave, this room right here is going to be the wave that starts the money flow to this cause and gets rid of all those zeros after that 0.0000 that Jenny was talking about. We're going to get rid of all those zeros. So I challenge you tonight there's cards on your tables that say thank you for one-time gift. Take this card, get a pen, get a pencil, and make a one-time generous gift. The best you can do tonight, better than you can do tonight. Give up coffee for the next month every day. Do what you can do. Look at the person next to you. Whatever they write, double that. Okay? You're way better than them. Okay? Take these cards, fill them out, and on your way out, when you cash out, turn these in, and let's see what we can do to start the wave of making this the room that starts that.